Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode of Behind the Page. I'm your host, CJ Tallarico, and today I'm joined by Gui Agustini, the voice of Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot in X-Men 97. Thank you so much for coming on today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
DJ, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. And yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. And I hope the listeners here and the viewers, I guess, enjoy.
I hope so too. I do. X-Men 97 is definitely my favorite project that's come out this year. It's one of my favorite Marvel Studios related projects of all time that I can't tell you how cool this is for me.
That's
Sunspot,
amazing.
especially in the show, is such a great character, and so much of that's because of your performance as him and your chemistry with the rest of the cast. He fits right in with the roster of this show, which, of course, a lot of characters come over from the original X-Men, the animated series. So I wanted to start off by asking what your experience was like with the original series and the X-Men in general prior to getting this role.
Sure. Well, first of all, very kind of you to say the words you just did. Um, but I'm very glad to hear that. And yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up watching show in Brazil in the 90s, as a very young kid. I don't remember exactly. I've been saying this, like, I don't know if I really started in 92 or I don't have a recollection of that. I was super young, but at that time. But I did watch it, and I think it might have been my first introduction to superheroes or definitely Marvel superheroes. And I became a huge fan of Wolverine. That was my number one guy. I also said many times that I loved Gambit a ton. And then after that, like the movies, I was a big
Mhm.
fan of the movies in the 2000s. And yeah, I mean that's basically been my introduction to the X-Men world and all that. Now the only thing is, like, I did not grow up reading the comic books. I very quickly focused on tennis. I wanted to be a professional tennis player in my early teens. And so all of a sudden I just obviously I watched movies and stuff, but I think it never, like, also because I don't think I had the exposure to comic books. My brother was older, so, like, read stuff and whatever, and like I learned so much, or like, it was introduced to many things because of him. But that wasn't one of them. So I literally this year have been, like, getting the exposure to comic books and learning so much more about Roberto himself
Mhm.
and the whole, like, comic book world.
What comics have you been reading to fill in those gaps?
Well, I mean, the ones that I read the most, that I was even given throughout
Mhm.
the process, was the New Mutants. Obviously, with Roberto appearing in the graphic novel number four, first time in 1982. Uh, I was giving some of those by the production to help me, as I was in the process of recording. But recently, I was part of another podcast, and we read and talked through a Daredevil 1970, I forget, 74 uh, comic book, and that was so interesting. So
That's
interesting
really
to,
cool.
yeah, to read something uh far back, and it was a very cool experience. And I have some other, like, New Mutants, and actually, the graphic novel number four, which is his first appearance, my friend bought it for me, but I haven't gotten it yet, and so I really want to be able to open it and read it. But that'll happen soon.
hmm That's awesome. That's really cool. So, you mentioned how you watched the animated series growing up. It's a beloved show that has so many dedicated fans, even to this day. What does it feel like getting to be a part of the revival of such an iconic show, especially you watching it growing up?
Well, I mean, look, I think the main word I've repeated many a times is surreal. It's been such a surreal experience. I think for a lot of us, like the new cast, because again, just like growing up with it being a huge part of our childhood, and then all of a sudden, like, being part of it's kind of wild. I think for me even more because from what I understand now through, like, panels that I've been, some of the other cast members and stuff, I think I'm the only one really that did not know this was X-Men 97 when I auditioned.
Oh, really?
And I have a little bit of, yeah, yeah, everybody, everybody got a code name. Everybody got like different names for the characters, but they all figured it out, including the OG cast. Lenore Zan, who voices Rogue, talks
Mhm.
about it, that she's like, they weren't telling her, but then like it was the same size of things that she had voiced in the 90s, right? So they all figured it out, and I didn't, because the truth is I didn't really know Roberto or Sunspot, right? Because I had never been introduced to him.
Mhm.
Even with the New Mutants live action in 2020, like I actually didn't really I knew there was, Andrew Zaga had played the role, but I didn't pay too much attention at the time with the whole pandemic. I was going through a lot of stuff and I did not watch the movie. So anyway, it did say Roberto da Costa, but I didn't know, so I didn't link it. And so I just thought it was another animated series or whatever it was. And I just did what it was asked of me. Obviously, it said it was Brazilian, and they wanted two versions with my natural accent and a little. If it wasn't Brazilian already, to then do a Brazilian accent, so I did both. But so then, yeah, so like after I getting the email that I got that I was booked and I was going to be a superhero in X-Men 97, I was like so shocked.
Yeah.
And it's been an incredible journey, and I've been saying this as well, like I've been so surprised through all the process, and especially now, I mean, since it came out, I didn't have an idea of what I was getting myself into, or not myself, but I like that
Mhm.
I what I had become part of. And so it's been truly surreal. It's been wonderful, the people that I've been meeting, and people like you, everybody, like it's so passionate about these characters and this world, and it's just so much love, so much community, and I really enjoy that. Yeah, it's been really wonderful.
Definitely. That's really cool to hear. I mentioned before your chemistry with the other characters in the show is great. I wanted to segue into that since you brought up a couple of the other actors and actresses. From the very first episode, we get to see you interact with Cyclops. You spend a lot of time in the show with
Yeah,
Jubilee. I love your
yeah,
two dynamic because it really parallels one another's stories, with the original show starting off with the X-Men getting Jubilee, and this one starting off with them saving Sunspot, sorry. I was wondering what
yeah.
the recording process was like for this show. Did you get to meet your castmates before recording, or was it along the way?
No, no. I mean, that's why it's so wonderful to hear, things like what you're saying in terms of like the chemistry and all that. But we didn't really record together. I think throughout the whole process, from what I hear, a couple of the actors at one point or another were in the same room or they had sessions at the same time. But I had none with other actors, were all by myself. And I think the majority of us did it that way. But I also learned that's how it's been, even before the pandemic, but but especially after the pandemic, that's how the process is usually done. Even in the 90s, which is also very interesting, through some of these panels, and also like Larry Houston, the director of the original animated series, and the Leewalds, were telling me and some of these interviews that in the beginning of the animated series, they started with the whole cast, but very quickly they realized it wasn't very productive because it was bleeding into each other's mic. They were having too
Mhm.
much fun together, so it would be laughing too much throughout takes. So they actually, even in the 90s, did not record the whole thing at the same, all together at the same time. So it just goes to show you that it's such a lot of credit to our booth voice director Meredith Lane, but also the entire team, to really see the big vision and be able to guide us through because a lot of times we don't. I mean, I myself in this first season did not see any very little of like the animatics, except for the moments that I went back to do ADR, and I didn't get all the scripts.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things that I didn't know as I was doing it. So it's a testament to their ability to ask of us of what's needed, and giving us this wonderful time to play and give different options and ideas. And so it's been such a joyful, interesting process for me, especially because it's my very first major animation project. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many talented people behind the scenes of this show. What was your experience like if it wasn't in the recording booth when you finally got to meet the people that are on the X-Men with you in this show, the fellow voice actors?
oh, it was amazing. I mean, that was at the premiere that we had. It was a fan event here in Los Angeles at the El Capitan. Um, and it was wonderful. I mean, just like I I knew some of them by, by name and stuff like that, but just like seeing everybody's faces and then finally like meeting some of the people that I knew of the original cast. It was it was a bliss, but also like the experience of having so many fans. I remember walking Hollywood Boulevard, and then I saw this humongous line of people dressed up, cosplayers and stuff. I'm like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
intense, this is serious, So yeah, it was such a joy.
That's awesome. You mentioned this is your first big like animated project. What would you say the working on an animated series like this differs from other projects you've done?
Um, well, I mean, because in the voice world, I had only done commercial voiceover. So that's just very short. So
Hmm.
that's the main difference. And it's just reading copy. There's no like character per se. And I did a voice for a surfer dude in Spidey and His Amazing Friends. So that was fun. But it was also just a short session. And it's really a kid's show, so it's a different um vocal quality, right? And experience. And it was super fast. Oh my God, it was awesome, and it was so fast. So this was like, just not only having a lot of time, um, but it just meant so much to me that in my very first session, when I met, both Imaggio, the creator, and the rest, Jake Castorona, and Meredith Lane, and people that were like in the Zoom with me, just to hear them say, like, this is your character, we're here to support you and your vision, and that meant a lot, because that, I think, is I had done other characters that I created in the live action world and in movies and TV show, but nothing of this magnitude. And I've been wanted to be a part of something like this, or to create something like that for a long time. So it meant a lot to me, and to be able to create a character from almost like scratch per se, right? So yeah, it was wonderful. I can't say enough, how grateful and how lucky and how fortunate I feel.
Yeah, it sounds like a great experience. I love what you said about how they said like this is really we want to see your spin on the character and all that. So what would you say are some of your favorite aspects of Roberto's character in X-Men 97 and specifically your version of Roberto?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Like, because through the research, of like the main thing that I guess people know Roberto as is like, his arrogance and how like stuck up his and all that kind of stuff. And I think what I thought was very interesting, that in this version, though, you can see a little bit of that, bratness that he has, and this whole like coming from money, but there was already embedded in the script and in this version, this more more like, sweet version of him, or really like trying to find a way to fit in, and I could relate a lot to that, and I think it helped me really lean in with, I think this, as in French, that we say joie de vivre, that I tend to have, for life and for experiencing, this existence, and with all its obviously challenges and hardships and heartaches. So I think that was like the beautiful combination that I saw and that I felt, and I was very excited to tackle, that I could relate, because all the other things that are different, it's obviously
Yeah.
what is obvious, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Roberto's one of my favorite characters to follow in this show. I mean, like I mentioned before, the parallels between him in this series versus Jubilee in the original, how obviously Roberto's so much more than this, but from the first episode, he's almost like the viewer's like self-insert character almost, in that we get to see his experience with the X-Men from the beginning. We get to see him meet the team, him interact with all these people, and him try and come to terms with being a mutant and how it affects him and the people around him in his life. That I thought that was a really interesting way for the show to handle everything.
No, that's awesome, and I'm so glad to hear that. Like I said, it's a joy when I hear, people's experience in that way, that it's so positive, and especially people who know him from the comics, and I understand that there's been creative liberties for very specific reasons, as we usually have, right, in anything that's that's created, when it's an IP or if it's a real life story or whatever. But yeah, that means a lot, and I agree with you. It's so interesting, like in that very first couple of episodes. And I mean, it was so fun. I mean, that first episode, it's actually has like some of my favorite lines and interactions, with Jubilee and then Wolverine. I
Mhm.
mean, that scene with Wolverine, like it's so cool, so yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned Jubilee, Wolverine. What were some cool characters to get to see your Sunspot interact with?
Yeah, no, definitely, like Wolverine, that first
Yeah.
scene was like uh it was so amazing. I mean, to see it the first time at the theater, because I think I can't remember if we did it in order, but it had been a long time ago. Um, so it was so nice to see it for the first time, and I did not. It took me like I think 4 episodes for me to go back to see some of the scripts because I didn't want to. I wanted to be surprised, and a
Mhm.
lot of it I didn't remember. That's the truth. And then I changed because I'm like, no, I need to know what's coming because this is so wild. I was watching it weekly with everybody at this that's coming to the Villainy Cantina here in Hollywood. Um, but anyway, but that was like, whoa, I had forgotten about that scene. It was so cool, so cool. That's like I think my favorite interaction. But obviously, like you said, most of my scenes are with Jubilee, and so that was a joy to meet Holly there at the premiere for the first time, and then seeing a lot of these things that we created, separately, especially episode 4, that is our it's Roberto's biggest episode, and their interactions. It was really cool to see that all come together. I think another very, I mean, I did not know this until maybe a couple weeks before the premiere, but I worked with Theo James, who voices Bastion in the Time Traveler's Wife, the HBO series. And so that was really cool. And I knew it was going to be Theo. I was like, what a full circle moment. Life is so ironic. Um, and that 10th episode is really amazing, because of his powers and the experience that I had. And so that is another one, that definitely I'll keep with me. But even like I had another one that I'd completely forgotten, when Sunspot joins, Magneto and Rogue. I mean, that
Yeah.
little scene was such a cool interaction. Yeah, man, there's like so many moments. It's hard to pick.
I remember watching that scene. I would watch it with my roommates while I was still at college. It was coming out that we'd be sitting on the couch, and I remember as Sunspot flew up next to Magneto, we were like, "Oh my God!" It was
Oh
really
wow, that's amazing. You guys watched it together?
yeah. We'd have viewing parties every Wednesday. We'd get up before our classes to all watch it together because
That's
we didn't want to get it spoiled or
awesome.
anything. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
hmm
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So you talked about a lot of the characters in this show. One of my favorite aspects of this show, I feel like there's so many amazing characters and cameos in this show. It really feels like in terms of adaptations, this world is the most fleshed out and rich Marvel universe we've gotten yet in film and television. Are there any other Marvel characters that didn't show up in the show, or maybe they did, that you'd like to see interact with Sunspot in the future?
Yes, I can say that because that ties to something that I get excited to talk about. It is a character that actually showed up, and I did not know because I don't think Sunspot Roberto's not in that episode. It was Deathbird, and I'll tell you why. Because in those New Mutants comics that I was given, one of my favorite moments and scenes is between Roberto and Deathbird, and it's so funny. I mean, there's a one in particular that to me is my favorite, and so when I saw Deathbird. I was like, oh my God, she's actually in the thing. So, of course, in the comics, at least that, those comics that I read, their relationship is very different. That most
Mhm.
likely will not happen in this version. But It'd be cool if like he could interact with her or even like fight, or something. It'd be so awesome. So
Definitely.
that
That's
would be
really
my pick.
hmm Did you know about a lot of the surprise characters that showed up in the show, or did the script kind of keep that under wraps from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of them, I mean, I can't remember now specifically, but there's a lot that happened that I
Mhm.
didn't have the scripts for, so definitely um, were um, were surprising to me, and but even some that weren't in the script, I just even like either didn't remember or didn't really know because the honesty is that I'm not as well versed in the whole world. I know, the known ones from the MCU and stuff like that. But there's so many characters that I learned for the first time, which has been
Mhm.
super awesome too.
That is really cool. Yeah. I'm sure now after filming that Daredevil episode you talked about too, it'd be cool to see him interact with Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah, of course,
Mhm.
of course. Yeah, but it was cool to see his cameo. It was
Yeah.
nice.
That was a very surprising one for me and my friends too. Is there other than interacting with different characters, is there any other route you'd like to see the show take with Sunspot in season two? I think there's such great potential for an episode centered around his origin. I'd love to see this world's
Mm.
take on it.
Um, well, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think like it's hard for me to say specifically
Hmm
because it's already been in process of production. But look, I think like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be really cool where this you know next season will take all of us through. Um, but yeah, I mean, also because again, with the liberties, some of the things that changed, with this mother being Brazilian, I was like, I don't know, is his father around? Like, are we gonna know about his father? Is he dead? Is he alive? I think he's alive, but the way he expressed with Jubilee, but it's not something that's very clear, right? So maybe that'll lead us into something, and so yeah, that would definitely be I love to see that, the whole like his father coming um into the spotlight as well.
Definitely. You mentioned his mother too. That was another great dynamic I felt in the show. All the scenes between you two, I thought were amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. That means a lot. Christine uh Webby, who voices, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Oh, I should have asked her. But anyway, we became good friends and she's amazing. She's also Brazilian and we've been seeing each other a lot these last couple of weeks. Because of the watch parties and some of the events, and she's amazing and she's so happy and it's always so much fun and we're so happy that people are enjoying and yeah, I mean it's so cool. She's really really talented and really good.
hmm those watch parties must be so cool. What are those experiences like? I have to know.
Oh my God, it's been amazing. You didn't see like anything at all like on social?
I've seen some your posts and things like
Okay,
that.
to the
Yeah.
post, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just like because first of all, it, you have like a big screen, several screens, and really good sound, right? Comparatively, if I'm watching here on my computer or my phone.
Yeah.
So that's just like number one. Um, which again, we were very lucky with the premiere where we watched 3 episodes in a row to have that at a beautiful, amazing theater with incredible sound system, right? You can't beat that. Actually, not number one. I mean, that's a big part of it, but I think that the number one part of it all is this communal experience and all the fans. So the reactions that you get, they're just priceless, and everybody's watching it for the first time. At first, there was a couple episodes that I watched it for the first time over there, but then I also quickly changed. I'm like, no, 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 I'm gonna watch it before, so I really get things clear, and then I rewatch it, and it's a different experience. But yeah, it's just so awesome. People's reaction and having so many again positive, passionate people for this world for the characters to share that is just really priceless.
Definitely. Did you have any favorite scenes that you were most anticipating seeing those fan reactions for?
Oh, I think the number one was, at his uh real powered up version at episode 10 going up against
Yeah.
Bastion because I think it was after episode 4 or something that I started to get a lot of in a very positive, cool way, but especially in person, but then also online of like, when is it gonna use his powers? When is it gonna stop being such a whatever, wuss or whatever, and then episode 7, we see it for I think for the first time this
Hmm.
version here, right? I think it was 7 or 8, I think 7. And then it just increases a little bit, but yeah, that was like the most anticipated. People kept asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, let's see, let's hope. I had to like uh lie, I guess, because
Yeah.
I could say it. And again, at that point, I had gone back to the scripts. I knew it was happening, knew it was coming, and again, I was just also so excited to really have, you know, my my real moment with Theo James's character again. So that was pretty sweet.
I'm
But
sure.
it was wild. Like when it happened, at that finale episode, oh my God, people were going wild. It was so cool.
I'm sure. Yeah. I was just going crazy on my couch. I can't even imagine. That must have been so cool. Theo
Were you
James'
also
performance
very
is amazing too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. That's very kind, CJ. Were you also like a little upset or like you're like super anxious for it to happen because it's like,
Oh,
oh, what is it gonna
definitely.
be?
Yeah.
Okay.
So many moments in this show. I was just anticipating and everything. And then once the show ended, it was just, I still had that anxiety because I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to wait another couple years for season 2 to see it all again. So I
I
think I've already
know.
watched the show rewatched it 2 or 3 times since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn. That's awesome.
How long was there between you'd say you wrapped recording your lines versus the show's premiere?
Oh, my very first session was in 2022 when I was cast. But they started recording in 2021 because most of the
Mhm.
cast uh was cast in 2021. I might have been the last one to join. And and it premiered this year. So I mean, I think it was a little bit after March, but basically 2 years. Um, so and sporadically, there were no like it's not like every 2 months I come in. Like it's just so, I think the longest gap I think was like 6 months maybe.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it's just like it takes a while.
The first time I saw Sunspot in the comics was probably around 2019 or so in the New Mutant series that was coming out around then. That it's
Oh
been really
wow.
cool seeing now so much Sunspot fan art and appreciation online that I'm sure that's got
Yes.
to be such a fun feeling, your version of Sunspot bringing this life back to the character.
Yeah, no, it's been really amazing. Yeah, even today I saw some new art that I hadn't seen. Like it keeps popping now, and that makes me very, very happy. It's so cool. Like you said, there were some before, but I mean, this is the major appearance that he has in a TV film world, right? Obviously, again, Henry Zaga's performance in The New Mutants in 2020 was the first MCU, but still, it wasn't as primal or as principal as this has been, right? So, um, yeah, I'm very happy, and some really cool art. I mean, I keep searching for more. I want more. I want more. Because people like they're so creative, they're so good. But anyway, I think it's gonna as time passes and as the next seasons come up, I hope that it just increases, the awareness and people's love for the character.
Definitely. I definitely think it will. I think thanks to the show, we're gonna see a lot more Sunspot content and him appear in so many different mediums now. Mhm.
Yes.
So now after recording for X-Men 97, do you have any advice that you wish you could have given yourself before you started recording?
Ooh, that's a first. That's a good question. My God, advice. Okay, yes, for sure. Because I've said this before, like the biggest challenge for me throughout this process was basically the definition of my accent. Because when I auditioned, I did these two versions because today I guess for most people I sound more American than anything else. And when I do a Brazilian accent is a very thick one. I can't just like, do a little bit, I guess. And so when I went up for my first session, I mean, they didn't tell me. I did two different versions. So I'm like, which one are we doing? We started to discuss a little bit what their vision was, and one of their main clear notes to me was that this is not like a kid's show, right? So you want like there's more maturity in the whole thing. So I didn't have to like make anything, you know. I don't remember. I actually never gone back to listen to my audition, so I don't know if I did something a little bit even um younger, probably not. But they said this music, oh, okay, so I don't have to like. I think like I already like naturally have a more like young tone to my voice. Um, but then they were like, well, they didn't tell me something right away, right off the bat, very specifically. It's like I want to, put on an accent. I want to like, you know, have this like representation and this honor to Brazil, right? Um, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. But then quickly they realized like it's too strong, and so the sounds are not very I don't, what's the word, like very tasteful for the American ear, and so they asked me to tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. Um, and then I kept a little something, and I was nervous in the beginning, um, because I'm like, I just like, I wanted to do something a little more pronounced. But then, and I knew this before, but it didn't click until, I don't know, second or third session. His mother is American. So it makes sense in my mind. I was like, makes sense that like he grew up with both languages. Like he doesn't have to have an accent. And so I started to change, not knowing that I think maybe at that point I hadn't gotten that other script. I don't remember now, but definitely not knowing that his mother in this version was going to be Brazilian.
Mhm.
Uh, so there was that too. But I
Yeah.
was like, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna speak more the way I speak, and they were fine with it. So then I went back to re-recording a lot of things for, I guess, many different reasons. But you see, like there's which I like that are some moments where there's a bit of much more of an accent than others. Um, but it's this mixture which I liked personally, and I'm keeping it. But I wish I had been a little bit more like and asked them more specifically, and I had like yeah, just chatted with the team a little bit more, about that from the go,
Mhm.
because I knew there was these two versions. I just didn't realize it was going to take this long journey, and and then like have a little bit of that like kind of mixture that created a lot of anxiety for me when it came out, but yeah.
I definitely think all the hard work paid off. I think your adaptation and your voice for Roberto is amazing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That means a lot. Thank you.
For those who haven't seen the show yet, X-Men 97, what would you say makes it so special and why should people check it out?
Whoa. Yeah. I mean, for those who have not watched it, I think number one, it's incredible storytelling. I think why people are responding is because it's not only like appealing to a broader audience because of the themes and all of that, but it's just incredible storytelling, which comes from the script first, and then the incredible talent that we were able to have, like these incredible talented actors and the whole team of animators. And so I think that's really number one, and why people are responding so deeply and so strongly about it being an animated or not. It's like we want to see good storytelling, and we want to feel, and it's making people feel all kinds of things that you're not expecting. So yeah, I think that's number one. It's great storytelling. Also, it's very entertaining. There's a lot of humor. I mean, there's so many reasons. But I think it'll make you feel, and I think that's what we go to see movies to see any kind of art. We want to feel, right? So yeah.
Definitely.
If you haven't watched it, go watch.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it and then come back.
Yes,
But then
yes.
as a one more final note, for those who have seen X-Men 97 and want to watch more of you, what's another project that you're in that you're proud of that you think people should go check out?
That's very sweet. Thanks, CJ. So the most recent one that I was a part of this year, I was very fortunate and very, very proud. It's also another full circle moment for me. I played a professional tennis player, which is, as I said
Mhm.
earlier, it was my first dream as a teenager in a new CBS TV show called Elsbeth. It's just one episode, episode 5. It's not super long, but it revolves around my character in that episode, and that show is so fun. I mean, Preston is so funny. She's so amazing, and it's already got picked up for second season. So yeah, I'd say go check that one out. But you can follow me online, and I always post stuff that I do. I create a lot of my own short films, and I have a couple in different parts of the process, and I have some in my like YouTube channel and my Vimeo account. It's like I post the stuff that I do. I have an American movie that I did coming out probably this year, but I don't have the details of it yet. So once I do, I'll let people know. And there's a couple other movies that I did in Brazil, but they're not available here. One in particular, this actually, I played an FBI agent that I hoped it would come to HBO Max because it's on HBO Max in Brazil and Latin America.
Mhm.
It's about the story of a jiu-jitsu legend, Brazilian legend called Fernando Tererê. And it's an incredible story. It's so amazing. But unfortunately, it's not available for the American public. But anyway, yeah, go check out Elsbeth and stay tuned for more things that I hope will happen this year.
Definitely, yeah. We're gonna leave all your socials in the description that you can go check them out. Make sure you go give him some love. Make sure you tag Marvel and say that we want more X-Men 97 as soon as possible. Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming on the
yes.
show. Really appreciate your time and everything you've had to share. Can't tell you how much
You're
it means to
welcome.
me because, like I said, X-Men 97, it was like my dream project to watch.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, CJ, and thanks everybody for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive, and see you guys next time.
Absolutely, yeah. Talk to you guys later.